Good morning. First, I want to thank all of you for your thoughts and prayers for my sister who weathered Hurricane Irma in West Palm Beach, Florida, West Palm Beach County in Delray Beach. I talked to her this morning. Her power is back, fortunately, and she's doing as well as can be expected. But she made it through and stronger than ever. So I'll have more on that tomorrow. But today is a very important day. It's a sad day. It is a day that we need to remember in our country. Every generation, they say, has a moment where you remember exactly what you were doing and where you were when an event occurred. For my mother and grandmother, it was the day that Kennedy was assassinated. For me, it's today, September 11th. I'm recording this show at the same time where I walked through my front door and from the grocery store, and my husband said, "Turn on the television." Excuse me. I've been talking a lot this weekend. A plane just hit the World Trade Center. And at that point, I turned on the Today Show, and it appeared to be an accident, a horrible accident. And then the second plane hit the tower, and we knew. And my husband, who I proudly wear this shirt in his honor, is a proud Marine. And that day, that September 11th, that Tuesday, after the second plane hit the tower, and then we heard that the Pentagon had been hit, I saw my husband afraid, truly afraid. And he said to me, "This is on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. And we are under attack." And my husband knew it before they reported it. And he was scared. And we were all scared that morning because none of us knew what was coming next. Lots of things were done wrong in 2001. These monsters, these terrorists, were able to come to our country legally on student visas and learn how to fly planes. They were allowed to buy one-way tickets simultaneously on 4 separate airplanes, and they did not raise any red flags or set off any alarm bells. These were all mistakes, and it cost 3,000 innocent Americans their lives. And many, many more after. We have to remember the brave Americans who were, of course, first responders, rescuers, who had no one to rescue because everybody was dead. They were incinerated. Very few people were rescued on 9/11, at least in New York City. The World Trade Center Ground Zero became a graveyard, and it's a permanent graveyard. Families had nothing to bury because there was nothing left to bury. They just knew their loved one was missing, and that was it. They never saw them again. Horrible phone calls home saying, "I'm in this building, it's on fire. I'm going to die. I love you." Those last moments are heart-wrenching. They broke our hearts, and they continue to break our hearts because you have to remember this was 16 years ago. And these beautiful men and women who died that day, and some children who died that day also on the airplanes, they didn't live to grow up. These beautiful people who died did not live to see their children grow up and graduate from high school and graduate from college and get married and have children of their own. They didn't get to do that. All because of terrorists who don't like the way that America lives their lives. They don't like the way our government runs our country. They don't like that we are free to live as we choose, to worship as we choose, or to worship not at all. Muslims died that day. We can't blame Muslims. We can't blame Islam. The Quran does not say it's okay to do what happened 16 years ago. At this very hour, no religion that I'm aware of would say it's okay to do what happened 16 years ago at this very hour. How far have we come? Okay, Saddam Hussein is dead. Well, he didn't have anything to do with 9/11. So that was basically a waste of all of our time and some good, strong, brave American lives, including some Marines. Osama bin Laden, in my opinion, it took too long to kill him, but he's dead. And Al-Qaeda is kind of on the back burner. But now we have ISIS. And we have Kim Jong-un in North Korea. And they pose a threat now to our country, to our safety. And we also have our own issues here in America. The white supremacists, the racists, the homophobes, the people who are willing to kill somebody simply because of the way they look, the way they choose to worship or not to worship, and who they choose to love. Make no mistake about this. Any life lost because somebody else doesn't like the way you look, the way you worship, or whom you love is unacceptable. That anybody, anywhere, in any country, including our own citizens, who believe that they have the right to cause violence or kill somebody just because they don't agree with the way they choose, which under our Constitution they have the right to choose, that they choose how to live their life and they don't like it, that they can kill that person or beat up that person or terrorize that person. 16 years ago, a war was started. And the first victims of that war were 3,000 innocent people who had no idea that we were at war with anyone. They got up, they had their coffee, they went to work. That's all they did. They got on a plane. There was a group, I remember, that children had, because they had done good in reading, they won a trip to Disneyland over in California, out in California. And they were on the plane that crashed into the Pentagon, Flight 77. And they were killed because they did a good job in reading. And they won the trip. And they died. I don't know what kind of a message that sends. The brave, brave Americans who became soldiers on Flight 93 that saved our capital, Washington, from more carnage, who took over that flight and said, not on our watch. We're under attack. We're going to do something about it. There was no military on that plane. There were no police officers on that plane. They were ordinary, everyday citizens. They were mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, aunts, uncles. They were gay. They were straight. They were black. They were white. They were Jews. They were Christians. What they did that day was courageous. They knew they were going to die. But they were going to die saving their country. And yet they had never been to boot camp. They had never had any training in the military. How many thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives did they save? Our first responders, our first people in the war against Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden were ordinary citizens on Flight 93. God bless them all and God bless their families. And the children, some of whom never met their fathers. God bless them all. 9/11, we can talk about all the time how it was handled, and you know what? The bottom line is, it was the worst day of our lives. And it's in our history. It's history. And remember what we say. If we don't remember history, we are doomed to repeat it. I know for me personally, I don't ever want to repeat that horrible day in September, 16 years ago. At this very time, 16 years ago, I was glued to my television, and I did not leave my television for weeks. We cried with our fellow citizens, and we were angry. And I want to know where that anger has gone. We have seemed to turn the anger onto each other, onto our American Muslim brothers and sisters, our American citizens who happen to practice the same religion as the terrorists did. But the terrorists, they had delusions. They did not follow Islam properly. And yet we turn on our Muslim American brothers and sisters. We have turned on our gay brothers and sisters. We have turned on our black brothers and sisters, our Hispanic and Mexican brothers and sisters. Have we learned nothing from 16 years ago, right now? 16 years ago this time. Nobody cared if you were legal or illegal. Nobody cared if you spoke English. Nobody cared if you were black, white, gay, straight, Jew, Christian, Muslim. Everybody was worth saving. And everybody cried together. And here we are 16 years later, and we have so much hate and division in this country over the very concept of what started 9/11/01 in motion. The fact that we refuse to accept the fact that not everybody in this world, in this country, is the same as we are. They don't share the same beliefs that we do. They don't love the same way that we do. They don't practice the same religion that we do. And still, 16 years later, we think there's something wrong with that, and that is the very reason that 9/11 happened. Because those terrorists wanted the entire world to believe and think like they do. Their demented, psychotic version of Islam, of a religion. It's not the true version of Islam, what these people believe. They were stupid. They were monsters. They were psychos. And yet here we are 16 years later, and we still have terror. We have people being killed or threatened or terrorized simply because they don't believe the way somebody else believes. And these radical people will take that as a personal insult and decide they're going to do something about it. And that something is violence. And it's wrong. We cannot afford to repeat the mistakes from 9/11/01. Because today is 9/11/17. And we are still under threat from other countries, from North Korea, from Russia. We are fighting ISIS, another terror group that wants to kill anyone who doesn't believe as they believe. And in our own country, we are fighting for the freedoms that those 3,000 people 16 years ago died for. Those brave souls on Flight 93 voluntarily gave up their lives to save us. To save us. What have we done with their gift? Have we really come much further? It's a question we should all be asking ourselves today as we remember that horrible day. And we also remember the heroes of that day. So God bless the victims' families from 9/11/01. God bless the children who never met their fathers. God bless the children who were so young that they forget their mother, or their father. God bless the children who were murdered on that day because they did good in reading. It's very emotional. Because on that day 16 years ago, people reached out to each other. Everybody had a flag, an American flag on their property. People called family they hadn't spoken to in a while to say, hey, are you okay? I love you. Do you see what's going on in our country? I saw my husband, who has never been scared like that. I saw him terrified for our country, the country he served so proudly. And then now I see it going backwards. We had so much love for each other just because we were all American citizens 16 years ago, and today that's not the case. This show's mantra, thanks to our wonderful singing chaplain, Chris Adams, is love shows and grows, and we need a lot of love right now. So let's stop this today on this day of remembrance. Let's remember, and let's not let the brave people who lost their lives 16 years ago, let's not let what they died for be in vain. Think about the people who were on Flight 93 and what they would think if they would look down on us right now and see all this hate. You know, I hate you because you're gay. I hate you because you're black. I hate you because you're a Jew. I don't even know you. How can you hate somebody you've never really even met or had a conversation with? People hate me because of my opinions about certain things. Yet these people have never sat down and had a conversation with me. And I am perfectly open to do that. Have a conversation with someone who thinks they know me, thinks they hate everything about me. Let's talk. I'm here. Just let me know. Go out today and say hello to somebody you normally wouldn't say hello to. Go out today and be kind to somebody who you normally would not even notice. Do something today out of your comfort zone. Meet somebody, maybe a neighbor, who believes differently than you do, and have a conversation. Show some love today because many people have died in the last 16 years so that we can live with the freedom and the choices that our country is built on. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Love shows and grows. Never forget 9/11/01. Political Paula, out.